How are you today?
I'm doing really good. We just got back from tour, and so just kind of like whenever you get back from tour, there's like a bunch of days where you're just like doing laundry and going to the grocery store and kind of trying to make your life normal again. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
I've been doing a lot of errands and chores and stuff.
Running errands suddenly doesn't feel so bad, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I was going to. So you have some tour dates coming up in the US, and then you're going to Canada, and then you're traveling down here to South America with a date
Mm.
in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and then Santiago de Chile. Hey. So I wanted to ask you, it's your first time in Chile, right?
Yeah. We've never played in South America before. I don't think I've never been to South America at all. And so
Oh,
I'm like
nice.
really excited. I've wanted to go for so long, but since the only travel I ever really do anymore is on tour, it's like if the band hasn't gone, then I definitely haven't gone.
Yeah, and do you know something about Argentina or Chile, the places you're visiting?
I mean, and now that this past tour is over, I was gonna get into like really kind of doing my investigations because I always like to kind of look up stuff about places we go before we get there so that you can kind of get a sense of like how you'll experience the city because usually there's not very much time. And
Yeah,
so it
yeah.
helps to look up beforehand and say, okay, are there cool shops I want to go to? Are there cool museums I'll have time for? And just kind of, get a lay of the land.
Yeah, it's a fast way of traveling. I was going to ask you if you have any notion of this South this the audiences, maybe the fans. Like, do you know anything about Chilean or Argentinian fans? Because it's quite different, and sometimes bands and artists really when they visit these places, they are like a bit in shock because fans here are like really passionate about it. So, do you know anything about that?
I mean, that is kind of the one thing that I know from talking to like other friends of ours who play in bands. They're
Yeah,
like, as soon as I said that we were playing in South America, they were like, you're gonna have so much fun because people just like really give themselves to music in a way
yeah,
that feels very distinct to South America. And just yeah, that fans are really passionate and
and
just like very
crazy.
excited for live music.
Yeah, passionate and crazy, and well, I hope you have a great time here. So let's talk about your latest album because I wanted to ask you about some specific lyrics. Okay, so uh, Week in Your Light, there's a lyric that says, staring down a simple something that'll shape my whole life. And even though the album has a lot of like romantic and the theme of like infatuation and obsession, would you say that
Mhm.
this lyric also applies to music in your life?
I mean that's a good point. It's not one I had thought about, but it definitely, as soon as I started playing music as a young person, and especially as soon as I started playing in bands, um, I just like I knew that that would shape my whole life and that everything would revolve around that going forward. So yeah, it was written with, kind of with romance in mind, but I guess it really does apply to music for me personally, or to, kind of any sort of passion that a person discovers in their own life that then kind of just really animates their soul.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think also in Strange Discipline, there are like some like themes collide, right? Because I'm going to go to the like romantic area, but first I
Hmm.
wanted to talk a bit about Too Much Enough
Hmm.
because it talks about the pressure of the different pressures of modern life, and it really feels like you're about to. I don't know. When I listened to it, I felt like I was going to have a panic attack because I was like, same. Like I relate to it. Like I feel it so much. So what's your relationship with today's demands when you're trying to focus and to pursue like a musical career and the arts,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it seems that you need to have a, like a social media presence and maybe even like a TikTok trend to do well. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think with that song specifically, it was kind of inspired by how between television and our phones, there's just sort of like a constant stream of information, and so much of it is like bad news that is designed to make you feel stressed and angry so that you keep watching.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
and uh, I mean, I think as far as it relates to the band, I feel like we have struck a, like I think most people in the music industry would say that our social media is not particularly strong, probably.
Yeah.
But like I feel like we have found a way to interact with it that feels very like genuine for us. And like the way that I try and approach social media is I think back to when I was in like high school, especially, and I would discover, um, any sort of glimpse into what it was like to be in a band, whether that's like some tour footage that ends up getting out on the internet, or just like photos of people backstage and such, like that meant so much to me as a fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when we're approaching social media, we try to do it that way in both like the very practical, like this is when we're playing shows, but then also like giving people kind of just like a little look into what our lives are, because I think if I was a fan of our band, I would want to see that. And so it makes it feel very natural and not like it's work that we're forced to do, if you can put yourself in the fan's position.
For sure, like a genuine and like more organic connection, maybe. Um, I would also like to consider a gentler redesign because it's
Mhm.
needed. So I was going to ask you about the saturation of information that you were speaking about earlier. Do you have like a method of detox? Like, okay, I'm going to while I'm on tour, for example, I'm not going to be checking social media or news or stuff like that. How do you take care of your mental health?
Um, I mean, I think it is, it can be particularly hard on tour because you have these stretches where, okay, we're going to be in the van for 5 to 10 hours today. And so you end up on social media like a lot sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I find that it can really help to, yeah, kind of take sort of like intentional breaks and devote yourself to something else. Like for me, if I can manage to like leave my phone in another room and just sort of like play guitar in this room, or work on a song on the computer, something that really kind of occupies my whole brain and takes me out of my reality completely, is really helpful to just kind of like center my brain and bring me back to myself instead of just constantly trying to take in every piece of information.
Right, right. I think that's healthier, healthier.
When
I
I can do
was
it.
Yeah, because not all the time you can really like afford to disconnect or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so focusing on the romantic side of things, I listened to the album and I really loved it because I'm a hopeless romantic myself. I'm intense.
Hmm.
So thank you for that. And I was going to ask you specifically, now that you have found love and everything's great, um,
Hmm.
as a hopeless romantic, what would you say to your like teenager self with the first broken heart?
Um, I mean, I guess I would say, you know, try to learn from it, and try to live with grace. I think it can be really hard to, when your heart is broken, I think it can be really hard to either kind of lash out or to kind of close yourself off from the world. And I think, to some degree that may be unavoidable, but just trying to be kind and be gentle with the people in your life, even the people that may have broken your heart, I think, is in the long run will make you feel a lot better when you're looking back at the relationship. And yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, that's really good. How did you start kind of transforming or doing like this kind of metamorphosis between like taking intense feelings and like maybe sometimes heartbreak, but sometimes obsession, and turning them into songs? How's your creative process?
I mean, in most cases, like the lyrics end up coming last in the
Okay.
process, and so I think I think sometimes you like when I was writing a lot of these songs, I wasn't writing thinking this is what the album will be about. I was just kind of writing, and I found myself, I guess it's my subconscious was just everything kept steering in that direction until by the end I looked and I was like, oh, there's a theme to this album.
Oh, okay.
And so it kind of revealed itself to me that this was something that was just like on the mind. And I mean, I think it is, it's something that like moves me in other music. And so it's logical to me that I would sort of take that in and try to make my own version of it. Um, but, I think letting your subconscious kind of get all these words out
Hmm.
um, is healthy in getting you through periods where your brain is conflicted or you're really depressed about something or what have you. It really helps to just kind of like write things down, even if they're not going to end up in a song or a poem, just kind of getting every idea out
Totally.
so you can see it is really valuable.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Um, okay, so I was thinking about what you said earlier. So you have different influences. It's about letting it flow and maybe trusting the process, and then sometimes there's a theme, sometimes not.
Mhm.
Um, so we really like to ask artists what are their inspirations currently, their creative content that they are consuming. So what are you listening to nowadays? Tell me like an album that you've been listening on a loop, maybe, so that the people can know.
Yeah, there's this one album that I've been listening to like nonstop by an artist named Avalon Emerson. And she is in most of her music is like a techno and I guess dance DJ. But she made this one album. She like formed a band called Avalon Emerson and the Charm, and put out this album. And I just like cannot stop listening to it. It's like so good. Um, and I've just really been kind of like I've like, oftentimes when you listen to an album, there's like that first set of songs that you're really drawn to.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the phase where like all of the kind of like deep cuts are what I'm
Right.
most
Yeah.
interested in. And I'm like, I'm skipping the hits and I'm just like pressing repeat on all the slowest, like weirdest songs. Because there's just like so much cool stuff there. And then besides that, I think I've been just coming off of tour. We got to play with a lot of really cool bands at like festivals and stuff. And so we got to see like Slow Dive perform a few times
Oh,
and
nice.
LCD Sound System perform a few times. kind of both of those bands are like very inspirational to me, and especially seeing them perform live, um, it just really made me want to kind of like get home and start creating as much as possible, which is kind of what I'm always looking for in art, is kind of the inspiration to then go make something myself. So
Right. Thank you for the recommendation. I will listen to it later. I also know about your like this ritual that you have, Cinema du John. I read something about that.
yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, what was the last film that you watched that you really liked? Because we're fans of film. We have a Perfect Days
Oh,
poster. Yeah.
actually,
So,
just watched Perfect Days and I loved it.
oh yeah,
Um,
what did you like about it?
I mean, I think it's like it reminded me a little bit of when, for most of my time living in New York, I was not like just a musician. Like I was mostly working in cafes, working in restaurants and stuff. And like even though that wasn't kind of what I wanted to be doing, I was really like the people I work with are cool, and so I'm going to like, why would I make this unpleasant for myself? Like uh, I'm gonna try to do a good job at this because that makes life easier for my coworkers. It makes life easier for me. And so just the way that he goes about kind of doing his job really well
Yeah.
and without like complaint, um, was like very satisfying to me, because it's like it's a reminder that even if you're not doing exactly what you would want to be doing, you can still find some enjoyment in your life. And his is an extreme example,
Yeah,
but
like cleaning toilets. Yeah.
but but yeah, it was uh, yeah, just very kind of calming to me, and a reminder to like be grateful for the things that I have.
Yeah, making the most out of any situation, I guess.
Hmm.
um Thank you for this interview. Thank you for your time speaking with Subela, with myself. I forgot to, I don't think I said it. My name is Paula. Thank you for this. um
Paula.
and yeah, and I hope you have a great show here in Chile. I hope you have some time to rest and maybe to walk around, go to a nice restaurant. And I
I hope so
really
too.
hope to see you live. I'm excited about that. So yeah,
Um,
see you and good luck and all the success to you.
Thank you so much. It was great to meet you.
Thank you, Ian. Bye.